Ron Gilbert, who many people know within the video game developing world, especially within the adventure genre, for kicking ass and taking names, and essentially laying the groundwork for many people out there to go and create works based off of his example of many of the titles that he had worked on, such as Maniac Mansion and the Monkey Island games, then went to go on and do things like Death Spank and the Penny Arcade games, all of which are fantastic adventure games, and some of the most quintessential examples of something that you should look at as a blueprint of what the hell you should do. And for anybody like me, who's been playing visual novels, point-and-click games, adventure games, I love that style of gameplay, mainly because it's a big-time focus on the characters, the environment, the world, the lore. I love all of that shit. It's not super crazy action intense or anything, and a lot of it has to do with just like mind-bending puzzle teasers and shit that you have to go and figure out, interacting with characters and getting to see their personality, the way that the script is handled and written, and the Monkey Island games are one of the finest examples of that. Well, Ron Gilbert was talking about how he would love to be able to have that IP back and work on a true third sequel in his vision, because he had only got to work on the first two games. From that point forward, LucasArts essentially just handed it off to a development team and continued it on. Now, granted, I like those games, but he wanted to go and work on those, and there's plenty of people out there, long-time fans of the series, had said, you know, the first two games are always the best. The other ones just don't have that gusto. They don't have that special spark that made the first two initial games special. They really needed his magical touch, like he's waving around a fucking wand and shit, and just making shit awesome. But it's interesting because now, as all of you know, there's a big acquisition from Disney who seems to swallow up everything like a fucking black hole and then just spits out tons of cash in return. And they acquired everything LucasArts related. That's including the Monkey Island games. Now, him saying that he would like to be able to retrieve that and get it back by, well, essentially any means necessary, but it's up to Disney to go and make that deal happen, saying, hey, we'll go and hand that over. I don't see that scenario playing out whatsoever because they're a fucking conglomerate. They're a huge-ass, multi-billion-dollar corporation, and they would probably be happier sitting on an IP and a franchise rather than selling it off to anybody and everybody out there that had any kind of interest in it and an open checkbook. And that's kind of unfortunate because if they're not going to do something with it, then why the fuck not? But I thought about this. If you have the man behind the series who's really invested in the idea of continuing onward with this, why not get him on board and develop another game? Maybe restart the entire franchise. I mean, we had remakes of the original games, so why the fuck not? I think that something like that would be ideal and perfect. You know, he had actually said back a couple years ago on his own blog, talking about, you know, if I got to make a Monkey Island game, these are the things that I would want to go and do. These are all different things and different features, some different traits about the game. This is all different shit that I would implement into it. And it was kind of an interesting read because typically, traditionally, you end up seeing that from a fan's perspective. Somebody that's completely outside of it as a third party looking inward and would say, you know, and I've talked about it plenty of times on my own channel. Things, you know, oh, I would change this and I would try to go and do this and I would really like it if the game had that. I would love it if this was taken away and go and alter all this crap. And you're seeing an originator, a creator, who is responsible for a legacy, essentially, within gaming, within one of the biggest genres within gaming, talk about this stuff. And now, yet again, celebrating the 25th anniversary of the series is now probably kind of melancholy, looking back and reflecting upon the series and what he would like to be able to do with it. And that has to be frustrating in many ways, because when you look at something that you're responsible for just blowing up and taking off, and you don't get to continue with it along the ride, you know, and you get to see it veer off into different directions that you wouldn't have taken, or you would have done things completely different, then that has to be kind of frustrating. I mean, I've talked about it numerous times with, like, the Metal Gear Solid franchise continuing onward without Kojima. You know, when you take those people out of the picture, the people that are responsible for making it as good as it is, then it can be unsettling for longtime fans. And with the Monkey Island games, you know, they've had several sequels since then, and many of them have been well received, but you didn't have Mr. Gilbert. So, again, I wonder whether or not Disney would be open to this idea. I mean, if you've got the IP and you got somebody who wants to work on this, that seems like a match made in heaven. And, I mean, the dude's still active within video game development. You know, he's been a writer, he's been a director, he's been a programmer. This guy's kind of a one-man band. Can do everything, and that's impressive because not a lot of people out there have chops like that. I mean, we've seen certain people go and have those kind of stats, like, you know, Iwata, for example. That dude could do everything and anything, and Ron Gilbert is, again, one of those people. You know, there's plenty of indie developers out there that can do everything, and if you have him at the helm, and Disney's got the bankroll to make that shit happen, but, I mean, do something with that. Hell, Disney's got the money. Why not go, start that up, continue and blow up the whole Monkey Island series real big, the only way that Disney could, and then maybe make an animated movie based off of it. Have him pen that, and then go and make it happen. Some big fucking CG movie, though granted, I'd rather it be, you know, traditional art and animation, because I always just have a preference towards that. Plus, we don't see it all that often, even on the big screen, which is kind of sad. It's all about CG because it's way easier for people to go and animate, blah blah blah, but that's a different topic for a different day. But just imagine, Monkey Island movie, Monkey Island game, and a true blue third game. An actual sequel done up by the man himself. Though that could go and call into question about the entire, like, series. Chronologically, like, which order does it go in? Does it veer off? Is this some kind of alternate dimension? Is this like some what-if scenario? Is this like a flat-out reboot? There's a lot of things that you could go and say about it. I mean, you do have the remakes of the originals, but, you know, it's just something to go and bring up. But it's something that I personally would love to see. So, Ron Gilbert being back on board with it? Fuck yeah. Should Disney do it? Fuck yeah. Will they sell it? More than likely not. Don't ever see some shit like that happening. But them working together, can totally see that. It'd be up to them to go and close that kind of a deal. On an animated movie, I like the idea of it. I think that it could be really cool. You know, again, somebody who... I became a fan once I got to see the remakes because I never had the originals ever available to me to go and play. But that... oh man. Make that shit happen. But opinions and thoughts, the adventure genre, Monkey Island games, Maniac Mansion, and a bunch of other crazy shit straight from fucking LucasArts, because their vaults were brimming with nothing but high quality games, and that man is responsible for quite a few of them, and I think that is something worth noting. Anyway, this is AlphaOmegaSin, as always, nerds, nerdettes, and gamers game the fuck on!